3, 2, 1, up. James, welcome.
Hey Perry, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mate, thank you for coming in, mate. The reason I wanted you to come here, thank you for your time, is because you've been in the industry for the last...
Well, I've been back in Australia since 2007. I lived in London for a couple of years, working in real estate in South Ken. Before that, I was in property management for the office for about 2 years. So that was after I finished university. So a long time. I've been as a sales agent on my own since 2011, but before that was an assistant. I've worked through everything. Worked in property management, was a property officer role originally in the office to save a bit of money before I went travelling over to London. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's go back. So you born and bred in Sydney?
Yep, went to school around the corner in Cranbrook. Grew up fortunately in Bellevue Hill. So spent a lot of time around here.
Nice. And parents, were they in real estate?
My dad was and still is. He's the principal at Richardson Wrench Double Bay.
Sorry if I ask, how old is your dad?
He is, I shouldn't be saying, he likes to say we're brothers, but he's 75, but still going strong.
And he's doing jiu-jitsu?
Oh no, he's not. He plays a lot of golf. My kids do jiu-jitsu. So my son is 7 and my daughter's 5, and they both do jiu-jitsu.
And your father is still active in real estate?
Yeah, totally.
75?
Yeah, 75, and he's in there almost first in the morning and working hard,
I love that attitude. Okay, we get there. So, born and bred in Sydney, went to school here. Your brothers, sisters?
I've got 2 brothers and a sister. Older brother, David, who works at Lend-Lease. Younger brother, Mark, who's a civil engineer, works at Lend-Lease, funnily enough. And younger sister, Isabel. We're a very close-knit, very tight family. But the only one in real estate really is my dad and then myself.
And you. Okay. Yeah. Why, I don't want to get personal, why you choose to get into real estate and not your...
Good question. I went to uni and I studied commerce property economics, and I was thinking about getting into property finance or development. I didn't quite know. But when I finished uni, I thought, well, maybe I want to go travelling, but I need to save some money. Yeah. And a role came up in the office to be a property officer, which is running around, getting keys cut. We had a very strong property manager at that time, and she really helped focus me on all those initial details about the property management side. Then I got into doing a bit of leasing for a couple of years, and then went overseas for a couple of years and worked in South Ken, Chelsea, and for a company over there in real estate, which is fun.
Wow. And I see a lot of good agents. They have a big background in leasing.
Yes.
And I spoke with you. Would you say for a naive or someone want to get into the industry is a very good place to start to build your foundation, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic place to start. Look, some people want to start straight away into sales, and I think that's fantastic. I think for learning about people, getting knocked around a little bit, property management is a really good place for that in the leasing role, because it's very quick as well. You've got people wanting to apply for property straight away, but you have to be really good at managing your time and your day, because your role there isn't just leasing. It might be doing applications, getting keys cut, putting up signs, all sorts of things.
Yeah, it can be full on like a property manager.
Yeah, it's a great area to learn, I think.
On that topic, do you have certain hours that you say, I'm not going to answer the phone? Or you got people that call you at 10 p.m., oh, my washing machine is not working?
In property management there, Jonathan, who's our head property manager, his email inbox is full all the time, but they've got a really great team around them as well. Look, you do get emails late at night and so forth, but I think it's really important to sometimes have those boundaries. If it's not life-changing, then I don't think you have to worry about running onto it straight away, like if it's a light globe. But if it's really important, we're onto it all the time, straight away.
Okay. You said you moved overseas?
Yep, I moved to London, travelled, backpacked through London, through Europe for about 3 months, which was fantastic. We got a train ticket and literally went to the train station, just picked where we went. So we did that for 3 months, which was great.
How old were you when you did that?
I would have been 24.
24 years old.
Yeah, 24.
Okay. And what made you like decide, oh, I want to spend a few months in Europe?
I just wanted, I thought I've been to university, I've worked for a couple of years here, and I think I'm still fairly young. It's good to go and experience the world. And it was a great education, you know, going around and seeing what the world's like and Europe was like. I was fortunate to travel with two of my friends. We ended up splitting up halfway through, and one went to Germany, one went to Ibiza, and I went and met my best mate up in Paris, which was good. And then we, funnily enough, ended up bumping into each other again down in Greece.
Nice.
Which was good. But then I ran out of money and had to go back to London to try and find a job.
Okay, so you were just traveling around?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What did you learn in the 3 months?
Learned, I mean, I've always been quite independent. But I just learnt about spontaneity and like, you know, just going with the flow, which was a lot of fun. And you meet so many different people and so many different cultures, and they're all out to have the same experience and experience life a little bit, which is different than being back here in Australia.
Right. And after 3 months, you said, no, that's it.
Well, I ran out of money, so I had to go and earn some money. So I didn't want to work at a bar somewhere, so which I did initially when I went back to London, worked at a bar in Portobello Road, actually.
There you go.
In Notting Hill. And then I was out interviewing. And
I know Notting Hill.
Yeah, interviewing, and then ended up getting a job in real estate over there.
Okay, and how was the experience working in real estate in UK? Like, what's the difference?
Phenomenal. I mean, it was very different to here. So you didn't, at that time when I was over there, a lot of it was leasing because we worked in South Ken, Chelsea, and a lot of it was leasehold properties.
Yeah.
You didn't have to have a license then.
Really?
Which was really, so you literally, there were 6 desks and all the leasing clerks like us, then the manager at the back. And literally the first person, if someone walked into the door in the office, the first person to jump up and grab the person, that was your client.
Wow.
Which was really, so it's very competitive. When the phone rang, the first person to pick up the phone, they got the client, they got the business. But then you learnt to take people to choose 3 different properties or 4 properties. You sometimes take them to one first and the next. And if they like the property, then you bring them straight back into the office. But it was, a lot of fun.
Interesting. So you don't need... Then you didn't need a license, so anyone could just get a job and
that was in business. 2005. We just literally just got there and got a job. And interestingly, the business setup was similar to how a lot of the teams are run here now, with the teams within the teams. You had a listing manager, and then you had 5 people under leasing clerks underneath them, which is a lot of how agents work now in their teams.
Interesting. And the selection criteria for the right tenant, because now it's more like sophisticated. You need to send pay slips. How was it back then in UK?
Very different. So they didn't, if someone was paying 6 months up front, you didn't need to do any checks on them at all. And a lot of the people that we were dealing with through South Ken, Chelsea, we were leasing properties up to £19,000 a week. We're paying 6 months up front. But then they did do some reference checks in the background, but not a huge amount. Not a huge amount. Did
you come across any weird situation or some drug dealers that are now trying to run the place?
Look, I'm sure there were some from other countries. They were paying the 6 months up front, but we weren't asked to ask a lot of questions. But I'm sure that's a lot different now.
Just rent it out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny. Okay, so you stayed there, and after a few months, you said, "All right, thank you, great experience."
A couple of years. I was in London for travelled for a few months, and in London for a couple of years.
Okay. Okay, sorry. So you traveled for 3 months, and after you got a job in UK, as a leasing agent.
Yes.
And you stayed there for 2 years.
Yeah, and I became the assistant manager of the office in South Kensington. And I sort of came to a crossroad. They wanted me to open up another office or help open another office. And I decided I'm a very keen surfer and I miss the beach. So I decided to come back home.
There you go. Okay. So, and after 2 years, you said, all right, guys, thank you. I miss the beach. I miss my land. I'm back in Sydney.
Back in Sydney. That's right.
What did your parents say to you when you choose to leave and when you stay there for 2 years?
Yeah, I think it was great. They're very supportive, obviously. Funnily enough, at the time, before I came home, I went to Thailand and to New York and caught up with my mate in New York. And funnily enough, they had brought on a new partner into the business, and he was looking for an associate and assistant. So it was actually perfect timing. And they said, would you want to work along this person as an assistant in the office? I said, yeah, definitely. I'll be back in March. So
straight up.
Yep. So I came back in, had an interview with him, had an interview with Robin, who's one of the partners and directors in the office, and they gave me the job, which was good.
And was still leasing?
No, back in as a salesperson, sales assistant. So to one of the partners at the time.
Okay. Now, talking about getting into the real estate market, which is was then in the East, is that correct?
Yep, yeah.
Okay.
So our office is in Double Bay, and we've been there. We're the longest holding Richardson and Wrench.
Yeah.
Richardson and Wrench has been around since 1885, and the office has been there since the 70s.
Wow. Okay, so you started as a sales assistant?
Yes.
In the Eastern Suburbs?
Yep.
In one of the most competitive marketplaces, I would say, in the country.
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, how was, because you moved from a leasing agent to a sales assistant real estate agent.
Yes.
So what's the difference the first few months that you noticed, because now you're selling?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what's the challenges? Because at the start, I believe, you need to build yourself up.
Yes.
What would you say, once you got there, and what's the challenges that you face the first 1/2 years, which I believe they are the most challenging?
I think, look, I mean, as an assistant, I was really helping out at open inspections. I was very lucky because we were working on a lot of high-end properties.
Yeah.
And at that time, my main role was to really look after the buyers. And in London, we were taught that as well. Look after the buyers, and then you'll be looked after down the line as well. So what was challenging was I didn't really know what I was meant to do. I had great mentorship with Robert and Michael, my dad. I did a lot of training myself. Like I invested a lot into sort of Lee Woodward. He did a lot of training back in the time, and then eventually into Josh Vegan as well.
Yeah.
It was very different then to what real estate is now, and what I actually learned. I didn't even know what a 149 certificate was. So
Right.
I was oblivious. I was actually learning the ropes all the way through. I think I learned lot more than dealing with people was really important, which I learned a lot through in the leasing side anyway. But I think I learned a lot more when I went out as my own as an agent. And then probably in the last 5 years, I've learned a lot with having a team as well. And running a business. So there's look, there are challenges all the time with it. Every day there are challenges come up. It's just learning how to deal with it.
Yeah. Okay, so when did you become your own agent?
That was in after about 4 years, 2011. I went out as my own agent on my own.
So sales assistant for 4 years,
Yep.
and after sales agent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you? I believe after 4 years you build a bit of a confidence, and you
Yeah.
build a bit of a reputation, I
Yeah.
would say, and you kind of understand the habits, what you need to do every day.
Yeah, exactly. One thing which was, I think, my first sale originally. I mean, we all talk about buyer servicing and looking after buyers and things like that as
Yeah.
well, which is a huge part of our backbone of our business.
Yeah.
But I was doing it subconsciously, I think, anyway. And my first property that I listed and sold, it was a client of ours who owned a property in Bellevue Hill.
Yeah.
They just sold. I'd seen another property in Bellevue Hill, went there, had a look, would you sell the property? Yes, but we need to find something. Another agent in the office was trying to sell something. So the people that we sold for in Bellevue Hill, we took them to that property, got an offer on their property, and they bought something else for us on Kambala Road. So it was literally 3 transactions in one was my first entree into sales, which was great. A great way to start.
Very interesting. Okay, so can you repeat that one? So this gentleman wanted to sell his property, but he had to buy first.
Yes,
Is that correct?
he wanted to buy something first. We'd sold a property in Bellevue Hill on Cranbrook Road, took that buyer to this guy's house. He said, look, if you can find me something, I'll sell. We took him to something else which we were selling on Kambala Road, Bolcar Road, I should say, which he ended up buying. And it was just a trifecta.
Wow, okay. And timing, did you work it out with settlement period, I believe?
Yeah, we did. It was all just to marry it all up the same. I think we had an extended settlement period on all of them. So they all married up the same, which was great.
We do that all the time. Like with buyers, they usually, when they're selling, they come to me and they say, hey, I'm planning to put my property on market.
Yeah.
Maybe I need a longer settlement, like 3 to 6 months. Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Very good tip there. Okay. And after that, how long were you a solo operator for? For how long?
I set myself a goal to have an assistant within 2 years. But I ended up having an assistant within 12 months, which was very helpful. I'd probably, if I went back again now, I'd probably do a little bit differently. I was sort of just trying to work out what worked. And I had someone who worked 3 days a week. If I went back now, I'd go back and, back myself and have someone full-time doing a sort of an admin sort of role. And then I'd bring on a associate underneath me pretty quickly in the piece. But I did that within about three years. I ended up having the team after about 3 years.
3 years, okay. And what would you say the day-to-day habits that, because at the end of the day, like you want to have in mind, what do I need to do every day in order for me to have certain amount of GCI per quarter?
And listings.
So when did you get to the point, I believe now you've been in the industry for, not now, like then when you were a solo real estate agent, what would you say the day-to-day habits that create consistency into the business?
Yeah, again, totally different now. What I'm doing every day is very different to when I first started, but not dissimilar. I think with me, I think every agent says they're up early, but I'm up pretty early in the morning. I don't have an alarm. I don't have an alarm clock. I've got 3 kids, so there's sometimes my alarm clock. But I'm up anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30. I wake up sort of naturally.
What time you go to bed?
It depends. Anywhere between 9 and 10 o'clock. In that sort of time. So I get some pretty good hours, 8 hours sleep every night.
What's the first thing you do?
First thing I do is I go and have a glass of water with a pinch of salt in it, and then I'll go for a surf. Most mornings I'll go for a surf. Depending if it's summer, I can get in the water at 5 or 5:15.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's pretty hard. At the moment, the light's on up until about 6:30. So the last 2 days I haven't surfed, but on Sunday I did. And I'll usually get out of the water at 6:30, come home, and then get ready for the day.
So from 5:30 to 6:30 you surf every day?
At the moment not, because it's with the daylight savings with the light. But then, so this morning I did some yoga, I did some stretching, or I'll do a workout at home. I'll do something every morning. I need to do something, and then I also train in jiu-jitsu as well, 2 to 3 times a week.
Interesting. Okay, so the main thing, the point is to do something in the morning.
Yeah, well, that's for me. For me, it gets me going, and it gets my energy going. Yeah, and I just love being in the water because it sort of calms you down a little bit as well.
It does. It's true. You drink coffee?
I have 1 coffee I make every morning. That's my breakfast. I have a butter coffee.
That's it.
That's it.
And you have enough energy for the rest of the day?
Yeah, then I eat lunch, and then I'll have dinner. But that's all I have. Yeah.
No more coffees?
No more coffees, no.
Oh, my God.
That's it, just the one.
I have my 4 espressos a day.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, even more sometimes.
Put some butter and coconut oil in it. That'll give you energy for the rest of the day.
There you go. Now, you bring this one up. Do you do keto?
Sort of, a little bit, but not really. There's a guy who I looked into a lot. He's got a book called How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy. His name's Paul Chek, and a lot of his stuff I sort of really read and look into. Whole foods. I'm very into my food and what I put into my body.
Have you always been like that, or you just naturally evolved to say, all right, in order for me to perform at my best, I need to eat a certain way?
Pretty much since about 2000 since I finished school, 2000. I broke my leg in year 11 and I put on a bit of weight, so I got a bit big in my last year of school. And the year after that at university, I got really into sort of food combining, not mixing proteins and carbs together. So I was into that. And then I sort of stripped back, and pretty much since then I've been very focused on all of that sort of side. In the last 12, my wife doesn't drink, so that's really easy for me. And I haven't drunk it over a year and a half now, I think, a year and 3 months. So
really? Nothing at all?
No. As in, I'll drink water.
Okay. No alcohol at all?
No.
Glass of wine, nothing?
No, nothing, no.
Interesting. Is because you don't like it, or is because make you a little bit too crazy, or what's the main?
No, just because I want to be at my optimal, because I've got 3 kids, my life's very busy, I'm running a team in the office, I'm running a business, I've got my business partners, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I want to live for a long time as well.
Well done.
Yeah, I read this really great book on Taoism beginning of last year, and they talk about, and they're really into their martial arts, obviously, as well.
What's the name of the book?
The name of the book is, let me just get it up. I've got all my books written down here that I read last year.
They're so interesting. I love this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's called The Art of Health, Sex and Longevity. I'm a really keen surfer, and I heard that Kelly Slater read that many years ago. The Tao of Health, Sex and Longevity by Daniel Reed. It's a really cool book. It's quite interesting.
I'm going to have a look.
But they talk about meditation, they talk about martial arts, they talk about food, they talk about stretching, they talk about breathing, which I'm into as well. They talk about sunlight as well. So
yeah. Mate, I love it.
And that was written 2,000 years ago. So
really?
Yeah. Well, sorry, that Taoism was about 2,000 years ago. The book was written in the 80s, but yeah.
Nice. Okay. That interesting. Are you spiritual?
I believe in energy and all of that stuff. There is something out there. My family is very spiritual, very much so, and I believe there is something. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Now, the reason I asked you to come in is because we've been dealing in the past together, and I saw like this guy's got 3 kids. That's so many deals every year consistently. He's running a business. They see him every morning doing surf. He's doing jiu-jitsu, and he's in one of the most, I would say, competitive marketplace, which is Eastern real estate. I was like, wow. Okay, now you're revealing all your secrets. Thank you, James. Okay, great. Going back, mate. Thank you for that.
And I've got I think my wife has a big play in that as well. That keeps me there. Yeah, she's amazing, Jess. So I'm very lucky, and she sort of looks after the whole family in the background. I mean, her background, her parents were both born in Macedonia, and she's got this big family ethic, and that's what I love as well. And she's without her, I think I would struggle a lot. Sure.
We're gonna get there soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So going back to the business, you had you hired your first assistant, and you said the first assistant was working 3 days a week?
At that time, my first assistant was working, doing my admin sort of 3 times a week.
Yeah, and you wouldn't suggest, if you're looking to hire someone, to do 3 days a week only, correct?
No, I'd say back yourself. I'd say back yourself and get someone on full time. Okay. Because then you can focus on, you ask what your habits and what your day is, then you can focus in getting in early and really getting on the phones and looking after your clients, prospecting, picking up new business.
What's the right candidate who wants to work with James?
It doesn't really matter. I think the most important thing is their enthusiasm and wanting to work hard. I think that's the key aspect initially, and keenness. But apart from that, you can teach all the other things. You can teach someone how to look after a buyer, do the files. I mean, in the admin side, that would be my weakness. That's why it's important to have someone for me in the background who manages that all for me. Yeah. But the key skill for me is it can be any age, it can be any background, just someone who's enthusiastic and keen and want to get in there and give their best.
What a tip would you give to someone young who wants to 18, 19, 20 want to start a career in real estate? Because a lot of people see things on Instagram and they see things online and they see flashy cars and but they don't see all the work that goes behind. Yes. What's a couple of tips that you would give to someone who wants to get into the real estate career? I mean,
I started in property management. I thought that was a great way to start because it was intense, but maybe not as intense as working in a team or in a sales side. Yeah. So that was a good entree for me, as I said, for a couple of years. I think that's a good way to start. But also, if you're going to want to get into it, work under an agent, work under an agent or a lead agent in a team, and just work for anything. I remember when I first started, there was another agent in the office, and if he had a listing, I'd work on it for free. I wouldn't worry about getting the commission. It was more about just getting my face out there and just learning. Yeah. Take your time as well. There seems to be this big rush to be a top agent by the time you're 21. I mean, you've got your whole life. I'm not saying work too slowly, but take your time, listen, just say yes. Just get out there and do everything. I mean, you'll be doing things which you don't like, sweeping up before the first open inspection and cleaning the pool and things like that. Not all the time, but some of the time. But that's always important because it's a good service, and the vendors will see that as well.
Nice. Okay. So work ethic, enthusiastic, student mentality, and pick a good mentor.
Correct.
Nice.
Yes.
Love that one. Okay, thank you. And have you seen any difference in, I would say, the generation coming into the real estate industry compared 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's. I mean, we always look back at sort of my age, and I think, oh, look, the new generation coming through. But I think there's some really exciting younger people coming through, and it's great because it all keeps us on our toes.
Yeah.
I think it feels like there are more people coming into real estate at a younger age, and they see it more as a profession, which they might not have done back when I was sort of coming into the business.
Really?
Yeah.
Before was not seen as a long-term career.
I think I don't think as many people when they first went out when they were younger, they maybe went to university and studied law or become a doctor or something along those lines, worked for a bank or something like that. But it's being seen now as more of a profession, which is really exciting. And a lot of the agents now are really professional. You look at some of the leading teams around at the moment.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. It's pretty phenomenal what's happening out there in the industry. It's super competitive, but that's a great thing because it keeps you on your toes and keeps the standards really high, which I think is really important.
Talking about standards, what would you say? Because the way I work, as a buyer's agent, I need to have daily schedule every day. I'll give an example. This sounds basic, but I do my 120 calls a day.
Yep.
Okay, that's my daily goals because I want to perform in a certain way, which I believe is very related from the real estate agent's perspective, the buyer's agent. When someone new come in and want to become a good sales agent, want to become James Dunn, all right? What would you say the day-to-day schedule from a calls perspective every day? Yeah,
well, what I do is I sort of get up, do my exercise, whatever that is in the morning, get home, have my breakfast, see the kids. Sometimes I'll drop them in, but mostly Jess will. I'll get into the office anywhere. I used to get in the office a lot earlier, between sort of 7:15 and 7:30 or 7 and 7:30. I'm there now probably between 7:30 and 8 in that sort of time. And first things, I catch up with my team every morning, 8:15, and I would have done my emails before then if I need to, but I'm pretty much speaking to my vendors first thing in the morning, and then I'm on to my prospecting. Any new properties coming on the market or sold, I'm calling my database, or if we've sold something, calling through all the inspections and inquiries and calling the database. That's what I do. With the team, so say for example with Kiara and Nash at the moment, we'll discuss what calls they're doing for the day and for the morning, and if we've got a new listing coming. Yeah, Kiara's great. And if we've got a new listing coming in, then they'll call the buyers to get them to that property. We sort of set our goals every day. I'm not doing 100 calls. I'm probably doing anywhere between 60 and 70 calls maybe. I'm more interested in the connects and booking appointments, buyer appointments and appraisals.
Yeah, of course you are now an established agent, so you don't really need to go through, because you've been around for a few years.
I probably should. I mean, some of the top guys and girls, they're still doing up at the 100 calls a day and things like that. I don't do that as I do that. I'm always on the phone speaking to people, but I'd rather be in the call and speaking to someone than wanting to churn through and make 100 calls. I'd rather be building a relationship.
Yeah. Good point. Building relationships, like nurturing. Because I often see real estate agents, they want to get the sales and they don't really care about the long term.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. And you've been in the industry for years, in one of the most competitive marketplaces in the country.
Yeah.
Can you please elaborate a little bit more how important is nurturing, building relationship, instead of just thinking, oh, let's get a sale, get a commissions, thank you very much?
You just got to think long term, because I mean, I want to be in this business for at least another 30 years. You know, my dad's in his mid-70s and I want to be doing it, maybe not at that degree then.
He's 75. Sorry if I keep mentioning the age, but well
he's
done.
Still going strong.
Is he healthy as you are?
Yeah, different. Probably not as healthy. I'm a bit, not extreme, but definitely. But yeah, no, he is.
Nice.
So, I mean, I've just listed a property in Vaucluse coming up, And that client I met, they were originally looking for a 2-bedroom apartment back in 2009 when I was working as an assistant for another agent at the time.
Wow.
So I built them, put them in the database, tried to help them buy something, and it's been since then, and they've finally bought now a property. So it's not an investment, they've bought a property for themselves.
Yeah.
And now they're selling through me. I mean, I still had to compete to get the business, but still I had the opportunity, and that's just building that relationship with them.
So you sold in 2009.
Well, I met them as a buyer in 2009. They were out looking to buy. I put them in the database, added them on, and then just kept in touch with them since then.
How often you stay in touch with them? Like once, twice a year? Or
Oh, no, pretty regularly. Like if everything sells around close to them or is listed, then I'd let them know. Probably, I don't know, 5-8 times a year, something like that.
Just
so
a
quite
quick call.
regularly. Quick call, but then they'd receive emails from me. I'd send them properties. I'd really try and service them that way as well.
After you sell the property, how often are you in touch with them?
Pretty regularly. Again, I mean, as soon as they've sold something, then I'm usually speaking to them a couple of times a year, depending on where they've gone. If they've moved overseas or interstate, probably not as much. But if they're local, I'm speaking to them quite regularly because, I mean, people are meant to move every 7 years, but what I find is they move pretty quicker than that, probably every 4 to 5 years. And that goes very quickly.
Yeah, it's true. Like I was actually recently reading some data. Every 5 to 7 years, people tend to move. Okay.
Yeah.
The importance of long-term thinking. Now, you have 3 kids.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old are they?
Sebastian's 7, Sienna's 5, and Antonio is 1 and 3 months.
Antonio, nice. What I wanted to ask you is, when you had your first child,
yes.
Okay,
yeah,
what changed from your, I would say, day-to-day life / mindset?
Yes. Well, what changed was less sleep. So I was getting up a bit more at night time.
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned before, I'm very lucky with Jess, my wife, because she's an amazing wife and mother. I'm very, very fortunate. She's always wanted to be a mum, and she's amazing at home with the kids and things like that.
Are you terrible at home? Like
I'm not. I'm very organised and neat and things, but she runs
bad.
the house. So that's sort of up to her what happens
I'm pretty
there.
bad. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
But it was just an experience first. Initially, it was, well, okay, there's someone else that I've got to really look after. It sort of made me a little bit more hungry as well.
Yeah.
But it didn't change my work time and thing that much with me. Again, I was very lucky. When the second came along, it was similar. When the third came along, that probably changed it the most. I was probably having to help out a bit more with my 2 eldest, Seb and Sienna. They both train jiu-jitsu as well, so I'll take them on a Seb on a Monday night and Sienna on a Friday night. I'll take them there as well.
Nice.
But it definitely has made my time management more important as well.
Nice. Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
How did you get into jiu-jitsu?
Well, Jess put Seb into it about 5 years ago. So he's been doing it at Gracie Barra in Carlton. He also does Gracie Barra in Bondi, but mainly Carlton.
Yeah.
And our professors down there are pretty amazing, and the coaches down there as well. And I remember the first time I went down there, one of the guys on the mat was like, come on. It's like, no, I don't have time for this. I think all the parents say that because I obviously surf when I can on a Sunday and things. And then about a year and a half ago, I just decided I'll give it a go. I'll see what they're doing. I read a great book by a guy called Hickson Gracie called Breathe.
Yes, I have.
And I just got quite interested into it and then just started doing it. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much taken over all my spare time, which is good.
And you train currently twice a week? 2
to 3 times. So Monday night I'll train, Friday night I'll train, and Sunday we train as well.
And surfing every morning? And
surfing pretty much every morning, yep. Wow. So I'm home before the kids are up by 6:30. I sort of help with Jess in the morning with them there. 1 or 2 days a week they'll come into the office, and they're at school around the corner in Double Bay Public, so I'll just walk. They'll come into the office and then I'll walk them across. But yeah, I'm training a bit. They train probably 4 or 5 times a week, so they're quite into it as well.
Wow. Okay. I love it.
And it helps you deal with pressure. You know, I mean, you're stuck under someone who's 120 kilos and
That's
they're trying
what
to choke you out. It helps you deal with breath pressure. So it's calm under pressure.
Yeah, that's what I love about martial arts in general. Like I started in kickboxing and I started to love jiu-jitsu. Now I'm addicted to it because it's really, there are a lot of skills that you can use, I would say, in our industry, because often you get quite a bit of pressures, you know, negotiation.
Lots.
But even like if you're not doing, like if you're not in real estate, what I found is staying calm under a tremendous amount of pressure. You know, you got someone want to choke you out. So that's what I love about it. A part of the fitness and a part of you know, the thinking behind. Like you need to think. It's very technical. And like I'm actually surprised you got 3 kids. You are a business owner. And you surf every day. And you still have time for jiu-jitsu. How long have you been doing it?
About a year and a half. So not a huge amount of time, but I'm there. So Monday night the class is I think 6:15 till about 8:45. Friday's about the same, and then Sunday 10 till 12:30. So, but I'm lucky because Seb does it as well. He'll stay there with me, so I'm kind of babysitting him, and Sienna will stay as well. So she'll stay on the Sunday and the Friday, and Seb will stay on Monday night. And it's just an amazing community for them all there. I mean, all the group of friends that they have there is phenomenal. And I mean, it helps them teach them discipline and respect and all those things as well. So for me, any child should be learning it at an early age. I think.
I agree. Nice, mate. Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, what's your plan with jiu-jitsu? Are you planning to do some comps? Are you planning?
I've done a few comps. I've got a comp this Sunday actually as well. So I've did 2 comps last year.
Come and watch you, no
earlier
pressure,
this year, and then one this Sunday. And the kids do comps as well. So yeah, it's great. The comps are very different to then sparring normally.
Yes, they
but
are.
It's
You got much more pressure.
Yes, huge.
You got more people watching you.
Yeah, I remember after my first comp, I couldn't breathe on my hands. I couldn't move them.
You naturally tend to squeeze. That's exactly what I did my first comp. Okay. How old were you when you did jiu-jitsu? When you started?
I was about 40, so I'm 41 now.
40 years old, you started jiu-jitsu, mate. That's actually impressive, man. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of surfers do jiu-jitsu as well.
Yes.
So there's a bit of a correlation there, and I've always been into sort of stretching and yoga, and I thought it was sort of a blend. And then I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's an amazing sport.
Nice. You mentioned a lot of books.
Yes.
You read a lot?
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, quite a lot.
Personal development, is more health, is more anything?
Bit of everything and anything. I'm very diverse in what I've read. I mean, I've got my list of books I read for last year. I've read 2 books this year. I read Awaken the Giant Within. I finished that last week. That was Tony Robbins. I finished that.
I went to one of his things face to face. Tony Robbins.
Okay.
Awaken the Giant. It's like a 3-4 days workshop. He's actually amazing.
I'm reading at the moment Walter Isaacson's autobiography on Benjamin Franklin.
Wow!
I read that book, Breathe. Then also about Tower. Very diverse what I read. I read a lot about business as well because obviously I'm sort of running one. Very diverse what I read. I read beginning of the year Tom Carroll's autobiography as well. He's a pro surfer. Very interesting. So yes, lots of different things.
So I can see you got a few goals going on here. Like you got business, personal. Would you say that having hobbies like this keeps you your brain active?
Oh, definitely. It keeps you focused. I think you get the endorphins going, but also teaches you a lot about life. I mean, I've got a goal to do 4 comps this year, jiu-jitsu comps. But yeah, it definitely keeps you focused.
Mate, that's amazing.
And your time management as well, because you said I've got a lot of things which I'm doing. It's so important then to be looking after my clients and prospecting to get business and things like that as well. So,
how important, now talking about education, is self-improvement as a real estate agent? Because you deal with people every day. And I believe if you're not good with yourself, you're not good with people. And I believe the top salespeople, they are people that don't look like salespeople. And the feeling that I had when I met you is like a kind of a silent killer, but in a very nice way.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like, no, very like you. I believe what gets you business, and this is my opinion, I'm not saying it's right, is because you not try to sell.
No.
Would you say is because you develop these skills by, understanding people? Like, what's your tip of someone want to become one of the top real estate agents in this industry regards people skill?
I think if you look at all the top agents, they're all very different in their personalities, but they all have very similar habits. I think that just be yourself. I think everyone's going out there wanting to be a certain way that they think an agent should be. Just be yourself. I mean, one of my good mates who I surf with a lot, he's very different to any other type of agent that's seen to be the top agent. He believes in the properties coming to him, and he surfs and spirituality and all those things. Whereas another agent might be there making the 110 calls, and that's how they do their business. So be yourself, I think, is the most important thing. I like to be straightforward as well. I mean, we've done some deals together, and I think that's really important as well, just to be straightforward. I think long term. You might not get the initial gratification of sales straight away, but if you think long term, the business will end up coming to you. And my dad always told me your reputation is the most important thing. So that is very important for me.
I agree.
But again, you got to be competitive, and you got to want to get the best price for your clients as well.
Agree. Nice one. Now that you are in a position of running the business, which is leadership, which is more responsibility, which is setting the standards, which is showing new people how to do the job.
Yes.
How did they change? Because you're moving from doing your own things to running a team, and kind of like you need to learn how to delegate.
Yes.
Like how did you evolve into that position, and what would you say your habit changed from you looking after yourself and your own business to running a company and running a team?
Well, I'm very fortunate that I've got Michael, my dad, one of the principals, and Robin Arnotts, who's been with the company. Oh, she's going to kill me if I get this wrong. Probably about 30 years, I think. I mean, and then I'm very lucky. So my day-to-day is running my team, really. So I've got my team, which I run. And then I work with Robin and Michael. We have a partners meeting every Friday to talk about the business. But we're very fortunate to have Robin in the background managing the main day-to-day habits of the business.
Well, as a principal, now you guys have like sales goal, leasing goal,
property management, and building the team as well. I mean, I'm all for building the footy team. Grabbing some new recruits, get some more sales agents, and building the youth up. To do it in the way that we'd like to be opening new offices in the future as well. That's a very important goal for me. It's important for me to do well, but I want to build up the other salespeople and the juniors coming through as well, the junior agents.
That's a very good point you bring up, building the youth, because I often see very good performer, very good sales agent, but not very good business people.
Yes.
And what I believe, this is again my opinion, is there is a bit of an ego in there.
Yeah, of course.
Like
there's always a little bit of ego in real estate.
And when you become a leader, I believe you will have to spend a lot of time in building other people instead of focusing on yourself. Is that true, or have you went through the stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think but probably not as much, because I don't think I've ever had a huge ego. But I think the point I said before about being able to delegate, and I think that people find that very difficult. They want to have control and control everything, but again, having faith in your team, being able to be able to delegate and let go, that's a really important skill if you want to sort of grow a business or grow a team.
Let go. That's important. A lot of people, they get like, no, you piss me off. You're not going to do as well as I do. I may just do myself. You
got to let people are going to fall. How did I learn? I was lucky enough to be able to do a lot and have a lot of experiences, and that's what I want our team being able to do as well. That's the only way you learn, is by making mistakes. So that's really important.
So let them mess it up.
Let them, let
To a certain point.
Yeah, to a certain point and help them. But but they've got to go through those mistakes in life then to realise how to do it properly. I think.
Nice. Regards recruiting new people.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you go through numbers, or you know much of, like, are you more the type of guy? If you don't get this number of, I would say,
appraisals. No, not really. That's not my focus. I think it takes a junior probably about 2 years before they start to understand what to do. A lot of the juniors that we have on, so say Kiara and Nash, they focus mainly on the buyers, and they've got to become really good at that skill and dealing with buyers agents and as well. They've got to become really good with that skill about dealing with buyers, because they will be potential listings in the future.
Yeah.
So that's a really important skill for them to understand initially first. I don't put pressure and say, you've got to make 100 calls. I can tell by their activities. So they've got an activity sheet. I've got a real estate coach, and he sends me an activity sheet, and they do an activity sheet
Josh?
as well. No, Ivan Bresic, who's been had a huge impact in the last couple of years as well. And so I'm not as worried about how many calls they're going to make, but how many buyer appointments they've booked in, or how many addresses that they've got. So that's more important for me to look at. Got
it. So they will book appointment for you?
Book buyer appointments for themselves to show buyers through properties. Like if you get Kiara or someone or Nash calling you, they'll call you quite regularly about new listings. It's to book in the buyer appointments.
And you let them do that straight away?
Not straight away. I help them initially first, but after the first month, I mean, they're talking to buyers pretty much straight off the bat. I mean, we've got dialogue for buyer inquiry. We've got dialogue for open house inquiry questions and things like that. So they're training's really important for us. We do every Friday, I get the team together and we do a training session with the team, and a lot of it is dialogue. You know, a buyer said this to me, what do I say? What are the questions I ask at the open house? What are the questions I ask on the callbacks? That's really important for their training, because otherwise they're just thrown in the deep end and said, good luck. I think that's the worst way to learn.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
Okay, what's the worst experience you ever had with a vendor? Because I know there are vendors, they have different expectations.
That's a good question. I mean, I guess you said about my personality that I don't seem to get flustered too much, but nothing ever that bad has happened to me with a vendor, I don't think. So I'd love to give you something juicy, Perry, but I don't have anything because I don't get too flustered about things happening with vendors.
And that's, I believe, the reason is because you give some realistic expectations.
Yeah, I think, look, initially when I first started, I used to get a little bit more wounded. I remember a property, and I door knocked them. They said, look, if you ever find me a property down in this street near the beach there, we'll buy it and we'll end up selling through you. I found them a property, took the brochure to their house, took them to the property. I didn't go to the auction with them, which looking back now I should have. They bought the property that night and then signed up with the agent on the spot. They called me the next day saying, look, we're really sorry, but we've signed up with another agent. So I was a little bit wounded then, but I've learned from that.
Wow. Okay. So they signed up with someone else, and just because you went to the auction.
Because I didn't go to the auction, and they just got they bought the property and got emotionally they just signed up, which is good, which is fine. But I guess I've learnt from that I'll always follow through 100% with everything. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for that. The last couple of questions the next one is, what's the goal? Because now you are a principal.
Yeah, I've just become a principal this year, which is great.
Mate, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done. So I believe, how do you change this? Like, now you're a principal, so you have even more management into your shoulder, and how you break it down, because you're still selling. Yeah. You're selling a lot. Yeah. I speak with you, Kiara, all the time. Yeah. And now you're a principal, so you got a lot of things on your plate. So what's going to happen?
Yeah. Really good question.
You know what they say, every level, every devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, to a degree. But again, I'm pretty lucky in the business because I've got Michael and Robin. Robin mainly runs the business in the background, so I'm involved, and I've got maybe a bit more of a say. But it's all of an equal say. But my day-to-day roles haven't changed as much, so I'm pretty much listing, selling, looking after my clients and my vendors, and managing my team, but also training and mentoring the other agents coming through. So that's my main focus, whereas Robin will deal with everything else in between, and Michael in the background runs his own team, and he makes some of the big decisions in the background as well. So my day-to-day things won't change dramatically, I don't think.
Nice. Okay. What's a tip would you give to someone who's been a real estate agent for long?
Yes.
And want to become a principal like you are? Because
Yes.
in my eyes, as someone who is, in my eyes, successful,
Yes.
is someone who is healthy,
Yeah.
who is happy,
Yes.
and who is progressing his career. What's the tip would you give to a real estate agent or a buyer's agent?
Yeah.
They want to move to a point where become a shareholder of principals like
Yeah.
you are. Like,
Yeah.
what got you there?
Really good question. So I guess one thing is, being an agent, you're probably going to make more money than you are if you're going to be an owner or a director or a principal of a business. So don't think, because I'm going to have my own business or become a principal or buy into a business, I'm going to all of a sudden make this extra money. What I think the most important thing is becoming a principal is showing great leadership and really just mentoring people coming through. I think that buying into a business shows that you want to be there with the company as well. So it shows that you want to be there long term. Let your owners know, let the directors know, look, and just say, look, I really want to become a partner or a principal in this business down the line, and they might set out a bit of a plan for you. So say, this is what you need to do within the first couple of years. If you're doing that, then we'll discuss becoming a principal or an owner. But don't think it's about making extra money. You're better off being a salesperson and running your own team and buying investment properties. That's probably the best advice.
There you go. Now you bring up another topic. Thank you for that. Sorry, the last two questions. So buying investment properties.
Yes.
Okay. I see a lot of real estate agents, and now I keep talking about real estate. I'm a buyer's agent. It's very similar.
Very similar.
And I would say like a lot of them they focus on doing deals, which is important.
Yeah.
But they don't think about the long-term wealth. I just bought
Yes.
my first investment property recently.
Yeah.
How important would you say is for controlling your finances and saving money
Yeah.
and focusing on your career and building your wealth? So like for yourself, like do you spend a lot of time and effort on your building your investment?
Well, yeah, I think it's important because I've got 3 kids and a wife, and I've got to think about their future. So whatever I'm buying as investments, it's not really for me. It's going to be for them, for the future, for their investments and things like that. I think that's a lot of reading I do as well. So a lot of the education I've had based on background in finance and all that is to do with me reading. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he'll talk about he'll talk about that. He'll talk about buying properties and using those as leverage to buy into other properties to have investments for the future. That's really important, and a lot of my focus sort of goes into that. I mean, your best investments are going to be, me personally will say, into property, or if you can, into a business as well. Business. There are other things that you can look into as well.
What would you say?
Well, I'm probably not the best to talk about sort of gold and silver and Bitcoin and things, but there are other investments to look into as well.
Bitcoin. There you go.
Yeah. I don't do as much in there, but I know other people. That's another job in itself. So I definitely don't have the time to do that, but there are some people you can speak about.
So you mentioned a few books. Maybe we can leave a few names. So Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to have a very foundational education about investing, understanding between employed, self-employed, investors, and the business owner.
Yes.
Okay. And now you're moving more to the investors, business owner.
Yes.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Other books that you mentioned, can you please say again the book talk about meditation and sex?
Oh, yeah.
Getting spicy
The Tao of Health, Sex and Longevity by Daniel Reed.
I hadn't read that one. I read a lot.
What is it? I read actually The Bullish Case of Bitcoin last year, which I was given. The Hicks and Gracie Breathe. The Art of War, the Danaher Diaries, which is John Danaher, his jiu-jitsu.
I follow
Gordon
John
Ryan.
Danaher all the time.
Mamba Mentality by Kobe Bryant. You Inc., John McGrath, read that last year. Unshakable, Tony Robbins. Good to Great is an amazing book about for businesses.
Yeah.
Another one, Relentless by Tim Grover.
Love that one.
I read Mastering Jiu-Jitsu by Henzo Gracie and John Danaher. So that was on the reading last year. I've got a pile of books on my desk. Ivan also got me into the Daily Stoic.
Yes, I have that one as well.
Ryan Halliday, which I have that on my desk, so I read that every day a page. So yeah, you always learn. It's important to always be learning and growing and taking it all in. It helps you with everything else.
More you talk, more question I want to ask you. Sorry. Okay, so very interesting. What time do you leave the office?
Depends. I mean, last night was about 6:30. I try and want to be out of there by 7 at the latest. I know others, top performing agents are leaving quite a bit earlier, but they start probably a little bit early at 7 or 7:30. I probably don't start till 7:38. But I at the moment, because I've got a team, I want to sort of be out there and then try and switch off as much as possible.
When do you read? Evening, morning?
So at the moment, first thing in the morning. So if I'm up, I'll read first thing in the morning. At night time, sort of, if Jess has got the TV on, then I'll sort of read a few pages. But that's the main time, yeah.
Are you going to get your kids into real estate?
Maybe. I mean, they come into the office, they'll do whatever they want to do. I mean, they come into the office, they love coming to the office. They come in on a Thursday morning before I walk them into school. My son is a natural salesperson. He's very talkative and has got an amazing personality and is not shy. Maybe whatever they want to do. I'm sure they might ask. Yeah.
Okay, last question, promise. Okay, after I let you go, I know you got a busy schedule. What's the goal for your business, yourself? What's the plan?
Build the team. So we're currently building the team at the moment, looking at bringing on someone else, a new sales agent into the office, 1 or 2. We've got the desks, the free space. So our office is in Double Bay. And the plan in the next couple of years, also build the property management, the rent role, but then also open another office as well. That's the long-term goal. And then just build up the agents within the office and help them all become very successful.
Whereabout are you thinking to open a new office?
Well, we still got the license for Wallara. So we used to have an office in Wallara, which in the late around 2000, which they shut down, but we've still got the franchise there. So that's probably a space which we'll be looking at opening up.
Getting into Wallara.
Yeah.
There you go, in our hood. Very good. James, thank you so much.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you so much for your time.
Worries.
So much value there. And do you have Facebook, Instagram, where people maybe can...
Yeah, I'm James Dunn 88 on Instagram, and then Facebook, just James Dunn.
James Dunn. Thank you so much, James, and thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Barry.
you, James.
Cheers.
This is general advice and does not take into consideration your objectives, situation, or needs. You should consider if this advice is suitable to you or your circumstances, and please read any applicable PDFs beforehand. This is a Henderson podcast production.